Mr. Chancellor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I add my warm welcome on behalf of Simon Fraser University's faculty, staff, and students to this extraordinary convocation. Extraordinary because of the impact on human history made by those we honor today. Extraordinary because a still very young and secular university honors those who have worked within ancient religious traditions, Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. And extraordinary because in our own tradition of outreach and response to the community, we have chosen not to confine the ceremony within the precincts of the university, but to share an historic occasion with the whole community in the heart of the city. Today we celebrate individuals who have played leading roles in struggles for human rights and for peace and reconciliation in the process as well as the aftermath of those struggles. Their leadership has defined some of the most important movements for human freedom in our time. Before citing greater detail about their individual achievements, let me comment further on what is common to the causes they espouse and what is common between them and the cause of the university. Each of the individuals we honor today has made truth the measure of their life and politics. To borrow concepts from Václav Havel, who would have been amongst our honorees today had illness not prevented his presence with us, each of these individuals has pursued the idea of living in truth, the idea of anti-political politics, and the idea of politics subordinated to conscience. Each of them has spoken truth to the powerful, exposing official lies that justify the trampling of human rights. Such lies translate occupation as liberation and police state practices as democratic. They blasphemously declare racism to be consistent with the laws of God, and they justify the exploitation of women in the same way. They portray the quest for human rights as the subversion of law and order by foreign agitators and enemies of true religion. Each of those we honor today has made peace and reconciliation an overriding commitment in the struggle for human rights. Against the overwhelming reality of violence in modern politics, and in the face of their own personal experience of official violence, these individuals have never wavered from a commitment to the cause of peace, to dialogue with opposing parties, to the mediation of disputes, and to the reconciliation of formerly hostile foes. Such commitments mean that despite their deep convictions rooted in diverse religious traditions, these individuals have pioneered in the ecumenical rapprochement between peoples of different faith, the construction of institutional mechanisms for the reconciliation of divided peoples, and the advocacy of human rights, not only in their own countries but around the world. Above all, they have shown that the integrating powers of tolerance and of truly open communication and dialogue are effective counters to the deadly power of violence. Finally, each of these individuals is a giant of our time because they have shown extraordinary courage in support of their commitments to truth, peace, and reconciliation. Each has had the courage to risk imprisonment for championing human rights. They have had the courage to risk their lives in the prevention of violence, whether by physically intervening to stop militants in their own cause from attacks on others, or by nonviolent passive resistance to unjust laws, or by courageously speaking out against official dogma. Above all, these individuals have shown that real courage comes not from self-righteous conviction that we know the truth and that others who do not are evil. Rather, theirs is a courage that comes from the awareness that our comprehension of truth is limited. The true nature of things cannot be fully observed, no matter the powers of science and technology. Human consciousness, social institutions, cultural expression, and values are shaped through history by a freedom of action not otherwise known in nature. And the changes wrought by history and evolution cannot be grasped by the frozen formulae that spring from our quest for certainty or our hope of salvation. Knowing this, these great leaders have shown the irony that true courage comes from humility, a humility that recognizes the marvelous complexity of the world and the infinite diversity of human experience and capacity. They have shown also another irony, that power is sustained only by the powerless, and that empires, totalitarian states, theocracies, and racist autocracy all fall when their claims to truth are contradicted by the experience and action of those they rule. Ladies and gentlemen, Fraser University is delighted to honor the extraordinary life and work of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Shirin Ebadi, and Desmond Tutu. Like any great university, we are committed above all to academic freedom, to the discovery of truth through disciplined dialogue and scholarship, and to an autonomous, open, and inclusive community which sustains the search for truth. Those we honor today have done more than any to reinforce these commitments by their great example. They have given us strength and inspiration by the courage of their convictions, and they have given us hope that in the very high stakes of modern politics, the cards of peace and reconciliation will trump the ace of clubs. Thank you all for joining us today to honor these great individuals and the commitments they espouse.
The honorary degrees will now be conferred. Mr. President, will you present the honorary degree candidate, His Holiness the Dalai Lama?
Mr. Chancellor, it is my privilege to present His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama Tenzin Gyatso. Few in our time have been confronted with such daunting challenges. Fewer still have faced them with such courage, wisdom, and humility. In 1959, following the suppression of the Tibetan national uprising, His Holiness sought political asylum in India. The exigencies of exile were great and immediate. Recognizing the urgent need to preserve the historical and cultural heritage of his people, he promoted economic development and the creation of an educational system for Tibetans in exile. And as the spiritual and temporal leader of Tibet, he also undertook the difficult task of seeking liberation for his country. From the very beginning of those early years of turmoil and sacrifice, he has steadfastly opposed the use of violence in his search for justice and truth for his people. A man of boundless respect for all living things, His Holiness advocates peaceful solutions grounded in dialogue and mutual respect as the path to harmony and understanding. These many years, he has traveled the globe, inspiring us to examine our lives and purify our hearts according to the teachings of our own religions. He counsels that all great faiths emphasize love, tolerance, and humility, and help transform individuals to become good human beings. His Holiness's words have moved millions, their wisdom and compassion uplifting all who see and hear him. Indeed, his presence in the world illuminates our global community and makes it seem more humane. His Holiness has often said that he finds inspiration in the following words: "For as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain, until then may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world." We are indeed blessed to have amongst us a man of such conviction, compassion, and integrity. In his search for justice, he has ennobled us all. Mr. Chancellor, in 1989, His Holiness received the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his selfless quest, an honor he graciously accepted on behalf of oppressed peoples everywhere. And today, in recognition of his great and good work, I ask on behalf of the Senate of this university that you confer upon His Holiness the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
Your Holiness, by virtue of the authority vested in me and in the Senate of this university, I hereby admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa. His Holiness will be hooded by Dr. John Waterhouse, Vice President of Academics. Mr. President, will you present the honorary degree candidate, Professor Shirin Ebadi?
Mr. Chancellor, Shirin Ebadi has been a voice of conscience in Iran for more than 25 years. She has consistently questioned dogma and challenged authority in her struggle to win basic human rights for women, children, refugees, and victims of government oppression. To many, she is a heroic figure who embodies an Islam in which every individual can live in peace and equality. Her own words reveal the severity of her struggle. Any person who pursues human rights in Iran must live with fear from birth to death, but I have learned to overcome my fear. Indeed, Shirin Ebadi's life is distinguished by a brave refusal to be silenced. From the very beginning of her career, she has engaged herself with a fierce will in public debate. As a lawyer, activist, writer, and lecturer, she represents a reformed Islam and advocates a new interpretation of Islamic law, one that is in harmony with democracy, equality before the law, and freedom of speech and religion. Her writing sheds light on the injustices of Iranian domestic law and discloses alleged human rights violations by Iranian authorities. She is the driving force behind Iran's reform of family law, advocating significant changes in divorce and inheritance legislation. She has taken on sensitive legal cases others dared not touch, fearlessly defending public intellectuals and women's rights activists at great personal risk. Despite seemingly insurmountable challenges, Shirin Ebadi created a truly independent human rights organization in Iran, the Society for the Protection of the Rights of the Child. And recently, she was a founding member of the Center for the Defense of Human Rights. For many years, despite detention, suspension from legal practice, and threats to her safety, she has remained true to her vision of an Islam in which all are equal. For her singularly courageous efforts, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2003. Mr. Chancellor, in her struggle for justice and equality, Shirin Ebadi has never faltered. Deeply imbued with the belief that change must come about peacefully, she is a fearless champion of human rights, and she has left an indelible mark on the conscience not only of Iranians, but of people everywhere. It is my privilege to ask, on behalf of the Senate of this university, that you confer upon Shirin Ebadi the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Professor Ebadi, by virtue of the authority vested in me and in the Senate of this university, I hereby admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Dr. Ebadi will be hooded by Dr. John Waterhouse. Mr. President, will you present the honorary degree candidate, the Most Reverend Archbishop Desmond Tutu?
Mr. Chancellor, Desmond Tutu is one of those rare individuals whose incandescent faith and whose deep humanity have made this world a far better place. In his commitment to truth and justice, to reason and compassion, he has touched the lives not only of the citizens of South Africa, but also of millions around the world. Desmond Tutu once said, "We can become human only in fellowship, in community, and in peace." And from the very beginning of his calling to the Anglican clergy, he has never wavered in his conviction that all people can live in fellowship and harmony. He has never faltered in his theological commitment to the reconciliation of divided peoples, nor ever compromised his political commitment to the reconciliation of people in conflict. As the General Secretary of the South African Council of Churches, he proved to be an indomitable foe against apartheid, repeatedly risking imprisonment in his courageous crusade for justice and racial conciliation in South Africa. Under his spiritual leadership, the Council gave voice to the ideals and aspirations of millions of Christians and provided assistance to the victims of apartheid. At home, Desmond Tutu bravely condemned the use of violence by opponents of apartheid. Abroad, he advocated economic sanctions against his country. Throughout those many difficult and dangerous years, Desmond Tutu implored all South Africans to seek peaceful solutions between the black and white communities of their homeland, which had been so deeply wounded by a long history of prejudice and injustice. And for his enduring efforts, he received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1984. Subsequently, as the first black bishop of Johannesburg, he redoubled his efforts to bridge the chasm between communities divided by official racism in South Africa. In 1986, he was elected Archbishop of Cape Town. And in this capacity, he continued his vigorous campaign to bring about the end of apartheid, denouncing at every opportunity the government's failure to make significant change and playing a leading role in the nationwide campaign of defiance that led a few short years later to the election of Nelson Mandela as President of South Africa. although he might well have celebrated this triumphant end to the struggle against apartheid by taking up a long-planned and well-deserved retirement, Archbishop Tutu accepted President Mandela's request in 1994 that he lead South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission. In that capacity, he has written a unique new chapter in the development of restorative justice, recovering detailed evidence of the enormity of the crimes of apartheid, offering amnesty to those responsible only as forgiveness for their full disclosure and contrition, and providing closure for victims as a result of access to truths otherwise denied them, and the promise, still imperfectly realized, of reparation for their pain and suffering. Mr. Chancellor, Desmond Tutu has, in a long life of service, been a force for good in one of the most bitter struggles of our times. He is an icon of hope whose influence extends far beyond the borders of South Africa. Today, it is my honor to ask on behalf of the Senate of this university that you confer upon Desmond Tutu the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Archbishop Tutu, by virtue of the authority vested in me and in the Senate of this university, I hereby admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa. Archbishop Tutu will be hooded by Dr. John Waterhouse.
Mr. Chancellor, it is a great pleasure now to have the opportunity to hear from our distinguished honorees. And first, I call on His Holiness the Dalai Lama for his address.
Zulalabde, and Zunzi Lubji, the Kawanaba. And the Sandashing and the she did that with a shaking Kurunabaniche and the Mingita Kuzube and the Kurunabataja Tomal Shuaria interde those the Chagado Sasaran to Chishui.
Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President of Simon Fraser University, eminent members of the faculty and students, and my fellow honorees, the Nobel laureates, and distinguished guests. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to participate in this ceremony and receive the honorary degree from the university.
Enter the issue that Chaga Jignalia and Chajog together, Melam the Shandun, Mundu Tane, and they do Shagat Suranabri, and they Tagian the Fushi Sumunaji Cheche, and the others Shagashugin, and Ishujik, Kajik, and Nambachik, to the Nimdolia, Turkibity, and mixing casual tones.
And today's honorary degree convocation ceremony is a very unique one, It is unique in the sense that it is being held in a place of worship, it's a sacred space, and where the three honoraries represent, in some sense, three great religions of the world: Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism. And this unique feature of this particular ceremony was already mentioned in, I think it was the Chancellor's speech.
So this shows respect to all religions, all different cultures, all different sort of people. I think on the ground, all are same human being, same human brothers, sisters, all have a sort of good potential, all have same right, and with compassionate attitude, deep respect, appreciation for all these different traditions, I think that's really great. One of my sort of effort is to promotion of harmony among the different traditions. Of course, I am Buddhist. To myself, Buddhism is best. But that does not mean Buddhism is best religion of the world. No. Each people, each individual, according to one's own tradition, is best. Like medicine, we can't say this medicine is best because high price. We can't say. Medicine means something cure illness. So according to the illness, which medicine is best? We have to judge according that way. So similarly, to some people, Christianity is best because it is most effective. To some people, Islam is most effective. Therefore, Islam for that person is best. So, mutual sort of recognition or respect, admiration, and through that way we can learn from each other's tradition. And in fact, according to my own experience, as a result of meeting with followers of other tradition and serious discussion, serious sort of exchange, that really helpful to enrich my own practice. So then, certainly, all major religions have same potential to help humanity in the way to increase basic human values. Because I believe whether believer or non-believer, in order to have happy life, these basic human values are very, very important. Like compassion, or sense of community, sense of responsibility. With these, and so on, with these sort of quality, the person himself, herself, of course, become much happier, and wherever that person live, in the family or in the community, there's certainly some positive atmosphere always bring. Therefore, while we are making every effort for material development, there is no point to neglect about these our inner human values. So, I'm quite sure your university, this education institution, certainly is a great service to the humanity, not only the education or the brain development, but also taking serious care about basic human values, so that the human being becoming more complete. So I'm and the honorary degree. I do not think this person is something special. I'm nothing. But because my activities, my sort of small service to the human brothers, sisters, and particularly in the field of various different religious traditions, in order to have closer relation, I think this is something recognition about my little services. So I very much appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Holiness. It is now a pleasure to call on Dr. Shirin Ebadi for her address. Dr. Ebadi.
به نام خدا عالی جنابان.
In the name of God, Your Excellencies,
حضار گرامی، اساتید محترم، خانم ها و آقایان.
respected audiences, ladies and gentlemen.
باعث افتخاره که من امروز در حضور شما هستم و به دکترای افتخاری که گرفتم افتخار می کنم و سپاسگزارم.
It's a privilege to be among you today, and it's my honor to receive this honorary degree at this university.
احساسی که اینجا دارم احساسی است که 34 سال قبل در دانشکده حقوق، دانشگاهی که توش درس خوندم دارم.
The feeling that was evoked in me harks back to 34 years ago when I was a student at the Faculty of Law at the University of Tehran.
و این به این دلیل است که در ابتدا گفتید شما نه تنها در اینجا بلکه در قلبتان را بر ما گشودید و سپاسگزارم.
And that is because it was mentioned at the beginning that the doors have been opened at this university and at this church and hearts have been opened, and I thank you for that.
و این احساسی است که در اثر محبت شما به من دست داده من خود را در خانه خودم احساس می کنم.
And this feeling has come upon me as a result of your affection that I feel in my own home.
حقیقت آینه است که از دست خدا افتاد، بر زمین خورد و هزار تکه شد.
The truth resembles a mirror that fell from the hand of God, was shattered into 1,000 pieces.
و هر کس تکه‌ای از آن را یافت.
And each person found a piece of that shattered mirror.
بنابراین کسی حق نداره بگه تمام حقیقت پیش منه. فقط من حقیقت رو میگویم و دیگران اشتباه میکنن.
As such, no one can claim to possess the truth and the whole truth, and the rest of you are mistaken.
و این چیزی است که ما باید یاد جوانهای خودمون رو به جوانهای خود یاد بدهیم و به اونها بگوییم که همدیگر رو، عقاید مخالف رو تحمل کنند.
And this is what we need to teach our youth, to tell them to tolerate and to listen to the opposing opinions and to take them to heart.
یکی از ویژگی‌های جامعه سالم تحمل عقاید مخالفه.
One of the features of a healthy society is to tolerate the opposing opinions.
ویژگی دیگر جامعه سالم دخالت نهادهای مدنی در امور عمومی است.
Another feature of a healthy society is the intervention of civil institutions in public affairs.
در یک جامعه سالم مردم همه چیز رو از حکومت طلب نمی کنند، بلکه خودشون هم پاپیش می گذارند برای رفع نیاز اجتماع.
In a healthy society, people do not demand the government to do everything, but they step forward and take charge of their own public affairs.
آموزش و پرورش یکی از وظایف هر حکومتی است، اما نهادهای مدنی هم در این زمینه نقش مهمی رو بایستی ایفا کنند.
Education, of course, is a responsibility of the central government, and still civil institutions play a crucial part in this matter as well.
من خوشحالم که دکترای افتخاری رو در جایی گرفتم که هم بر تحمل عقاید مخالف و تعامل تکیه دارد و همین که به وسیله جامعه مدنی اون دانشگاه اداره میشه.
I am pleased to receive this honorary degree at a university which is at the same time receives support from the government and still is based on institutional support on civil institutions of the kind that I mentioned.
و از این بابت از خدای خودم سپاسگزارم که باعث شد چنین روزی برای من فرا برسه.
I thank my God that such a day happened in me for this reason.
متشکرم.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ebadi. And it is now my pleasure to call on Archbishop Tutu for his address. Archbishop?
Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, your late father would have been very proud of you. The President's father was a bishop in our church in South Africa. And thank you, choir. I nearly got up to dance when you Thank you, Bishop and Mr. Dean. Isn't this a perfect setting for a sermon? I mean, this is a holy place, superb music up there, and best of all, a captive audience. But I will resist the temptation because I remember seeing a cartoon which showed a pastor's wife in bed with her husband, and she says, "Darling, I can't sleep. Please preach me one of your sermons. Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow honorees and fellow Nobel laureates, thank you for this wonderful privilege and honor which I receive as I do most of these awards in a representative capacity. I receive it on behalf of all of our people back home who are the people you really want to honor, the people who were the stalwarts, the heroines and heroes of our struggle. But because you can't give honorary degrees to millions, you choose me because I have an easy surname. I mean, all Westerners can say Tutu. Imagine if I was Makasharala. Then I would probably not have been given this degree because you would not have been able to pronounce my name. But seriously, it is those who for so very long were faceless, anonymous nonentities. You honor them for having been so steadfast in that struggle. And as you know, next week, on the 27th of April, we will be celebrating 10 years of freedom. We thank you on behalf of all of those many, many, many millions of our people back home. Yes, we scored a spectacular victory over the ghastliness of apartheid. But it is only because the international community supported us so wonderfully, wonderfully. And on behalf of those many, many millions, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that support. For we would not today be free had it not been for that extraordinary support that we got from all of you. I thought you were going to clap. Actually, I have discovered that you are shy. And I also discovered that I, in fact, have a magic wand. Now, this wand is very special. When I wave it over people, it turns them into instant South Africans. So, if I wave my magic wand over you, fellow South Africans, how about giving these Canadians a real humdinger? Eh? Thank you. And I wave my wand over you, and you return to your former shy, reserved self. But thank you very much. As I grow older, I am surprised at discovering insights and truths that have been so obvious, really. I should have found out about them long, long ago. Talking about being old. They named a school after me somewhere in a small village in the Netherlands. That's not the important part of the story. The school was celebrating 400 years. And my wife and I arrived in the village to attend the celebrations. And a little girl came up to me and said, "Were you here when the school started?" Well, I never. I knew I was decrepit, but I didn't think it was so obvious. And the one thing that I wanted to refer to is this extraordinary message that Jesus at the resurrection gives to Mary Magdalene. Those of you who are Christians may remember that Jesus says, "Go and tell." Now, he could have said, "Go and tell my disciples." He could have said, "Go and tell my friends," because in this particular gospel, he says that is the highest title they can have. He says none of those. He says to her, "Go and tell my brothers that I am ascending to my God and their God, to my Father and their Father." And I discovered that that is probably the most radical thing that Jesus said, that we are family. That we are family. Now, can you imagine? You think, well, family, this is a very sentimental thing to say, family. No! Family. Family. You don't choose family. Many times we might wish we could. You don't choose family. Family are God's gift to you as you are to them. And however the member of your family might be, however ghastly, that person will always remain a member of your family. And family has a particular ethic. You say, from each according to their ability, to each according to their need. Family. Do you think you would take off in a bomber to rain bombs on those others who happen to be your family? Would you? Would you spend, as we do, such obscene amounts on what we say are defense budgets? Budgets of death and destruction, when we know that a minute fraction of those budgets would ensure that all of God's children, everywhere, would have clean water to drink, would have enough food to eat, would have secure homes, adequate health care. Family. Family. And God says, I have a dream. Oh yes, Martin Luther King Jr., I heard you say, I have a dream. I too, says God, I have a dream. I have a dream that my children one day will realize that they are family. And in this family, there are no outsiders. All belong. You know, when Jesus says, if I be lifted up, will draw, he didn't say, I will draw some. I will draw all. Rich, poor, white, black, red, yellow, beautiful, not so beautiful. All. Fantastic. All. Gay, lesbian, so-called straight, all. I told you it is radical. Because you see, in this family, Sharon, Arafat, Bush, Bin Laden, Saddam Hussein. For you see, my enemies are certainly not God's enemies. God has no enemies. Bin Laden, however we may think about him, is still God's child. And so God said, all belong in this family, held in an embrace of a love that will not let us go. A love that says, you are precious to me. I love you with a love that cannot be computed. You are precious. You are special.